Hey, what's going on, fellow trade geniuses? This is Philip, and I wanted to give you your binary options update and outlook for the morning of July 31st. Actually, recording this Sunday evening. So, basically, what we're looking at, I wanted to start off with the ES. We're still going up. I think 2,700 or 2,500, excuse me, is the final destination. But let's take a look at some levels because I just wanted you to be aware of where I'm looking at as far as support and resistance relative to volume and price. So let's take a look at the chart here. Okay, so what we have is, if you look on, let's see, give me my pointer. Okay, so we made basically looking for this 2479 area, 2480. For if we go up and test that, do we get a double top or do we fail? One thing I'm keying in on here is we're getting a bearish divergence on the oscillator, and that tends to pull on the price for a correction. We're going to keep an eye on that. If we do correct, I'd look to see that this 2463 area, give or take, if that fails, there's not a lot of volume, as you can see over here, so we'd probably be looking for support. I look for more support here in the 2440 area. So you could get a pretty fast move, a 20-point ES move. There is some light support here at 2445, but I think the meat of that is actually a little bit lower for support. The other area that I would be keying in on is 2415, let's call it. And if that fails, the next one would be 2400 roughly. And there's a lot of support between 2400 and 2376, and I don't know that we're going to see that this week, but if we do, we'll update, or if we start making our way down, we'll update that, but I don't think so. I think we're going to continue the march up, but we could have some corrections back. So those are your levels to take a look at. The 2480 level, 2463 level, 2438 level, and the 2415 or 16 level. I think those are your immediate levels that you can kind of put on the chart, and that's based on where we have some volume concentrations and voids. All right, so that's ES. Let's take a look at the currencies as far as how they look in the channels. We are going to have some weekly plays I want you guys to be aware of that aren't related to overbought, oversold in the channels, because those are more for our overnight type swing setups. Aussie yen, again, we're looking at our wider channels because the VIX is so low. Aussie yen may roll over and we may get an entry on that. Everything else, dollar wise, not too bad. Yen is getting toppy, so any yen related pairs such as the Aussie yen may get us an entry, and I like it when the actual pair lines up with the the yen future. So in this example, so looking at that, that's pretty much it for the swings. But I do like euro as a short this week. I like oil as a short this week. I know oil hasn't been treating us well, but they do look pretty toppy. CAD, dollar CAD is actually extremely oversold on a weekly basis, so would be tempted to go long there. So we'll take a look for an entry, and I'll be tweeting those out to the subs. All right, let's take a look at our dailies. Look at ES. ES, as you can see, is kind of in the mid channel. So you look at YM pretty tight there, and Q, same story there, more or less. IWM, nothing eminent. So we'll update that on our next video and see how those shake out. If things like North Korea get dicey, we could see some moves. Okay, now over here we have our yield chart ratio. So this is a purple line represents ES, and this green and red line represent the yield curve. So if the yield curve is dropping away from ES, like they go divergent, then one tends to correct back to the other. More often than not, it's ES. So in other words, if we have, like for here example, you had ES was, you could draw a trend line up here, you could draw a trend line down here, and then ES drops by about 10 ES points on that pullback there. So when I see it starting to trend, and then you see get like a big dip here, to me those are kind of red flags. So any support levels that I'd be looking to see if those get breached, and then there'd be a move down. These aren't huge moves, but you know, getting a 10-point move down in ES anymore is noteworthy. So it's just something to be aware of. It's good for our end of day binary plays, and also your SPY option contracts. So something setting up here, these usually take a couple days to manifest, so just keep an eye on that. Just know that that's building pressure. If you start seeing this, just look at that as negative pressure building, but it may sometimes take 2 or 3 days to manifest. So let's see, what else can we look at? Let's take a look at the VIX, or actually we could look at commodities. Oil, you know, it's in the mid channel here, but it's had like an enormous run up, and it is very toppy on the weekly. I don't have the weekly indicators up on these charts, but it is looking toppy. So gold and silver, I think, have another push up. I still think it's a buy to the dip type of week, like it was last week. Hopefully we actually get some fills on those. Natural gas, you can see, kind of took a dump here. I think if we get, it may be time to get long natural gas on the next leg thrust down. That would be for options or just natural gas, you know, ETFs. I think that's setting up. Corn and soy, nothing too exciting there right at the moment, so we'll see how that shapes up. And copper was on a tear. Copper still looks like it's moving up. I think that would continue with the precious metal space. So that's about it for the commodities. All right, last thing we want to look at is VIX. If we zoom in here, you know, 13 is where we like to see it for our binary option premiums, although we have been getting premium, and maybe that's just the market makers adjusting down, because if they're not giving out premium, then there's no volume on the exchange, so they may be adjusting down, because we have been seeing more of our FX high probability entries that we're able to get into. So it's acting like it's at 13 even though it's not, so that's a good thing. But anyway, as you can see, we did that really low dip in the 9, and we bounced back up. You guys, if you recall, I was talking about looking for these interval spikes, and it looked like we were starting to get one, although it's kind of pulled back here. So we'll see if we get a follow through, and that would be correlated to probably ES hitting some of those levels that we outlined earlier. Other than that, the other thing we can look at is, as you can see, like the FX that we've gone over before, our FX volatility indices are right there with the regular VIX, so I don't see any problems there as far as Nadex premiums being as they should for the risk that's going on in the FX markets, which is what we concentrate on. So that's about it for starting the week off, guys. So like I said, we'll be looking at some weekly plays. We may tweet those out this evening or early in the morning tomorrow. They're weekly, so you should have time to get into them if you don't get to the tweets right away. Other than that, we'll be looking for some afternoon entries for the high probability stuff. Unless anything sets up, if we get some activity on the indices tomorrow, we may get some end of day plays as well, and we'll post those. So if you are in the room, we'll see you in the room. Otherwise, have a great trading week, and we'll catch you on the next update. All right, guys, take care.